Hey, what's up, everyone? This is Essen Reza from the Essen Reza podcast. And today's episode, I was supposed to have a guest on the show, but unfortunately, they did have to cancel. And so I had two choices. One was to cancel the podcast altogether, or number two was to put something together on the fly and give you guys some consistent content. So it's over Zoom. I know it's not in the studio like I normally do it, but I did want to get this out to you guys because I want to stay consistent and I want to give my listeners and audience content that they will learn from and find valuable each and every month. So really, I just thought of this on the fly as, we're in the middle half of the year, literally at the middle point. It's July the 2nd right now today. And I thought it would be a great opportunity to give you guys a mid-year recap on the real estate market, kind of give you guys an idea as to which direction the market's going to go, how the first half of the year performed, what can we expect in the second half of the year, and just kind of give you guys a quick recap, boots on the ground update, so you guys are familiar as to where the market is headed going forward in 2024. So let's just start off with the hot topic, which is interest rates. I know interest rates were recently cut a couple of weeks ago, as you guys all heard. We've had 14 consecutive rate hikes in the last couple of years. So now that we've had this rate cut, although it was a very small rate cut, it was a 25 basis point rate cut, what it told me was that we've turned the corner when it comes to interest rates. And there is some light at the end of the tunnel now, finally, because we're starting to see more indications from the Bank of Canada, more hints that further rate cuts will be coming in the latter half of the year and even next year as well. So I think largely the pain of interest rate hikes is over. We're not going to see any more rate hikes unless something catastrophic happens, which I don't anticipate happening. But I think now we are in the progression of rate cuts from here on in. So the number one question I get is, well, we had a rate cut. How did that impact the market? Well, number one, it's still too early to tell as to how the market performed. But what I can tell you, just kind of, from a gut feel, is that it didn't really have much of an impact on the market because a 25 basis point is hardly anything. So from an affordability standpoint, interest rates are still relatively high. Housing is still very, very expensive. But the main message we got from this rate cut was that we've turned the corner. So we've kind of course corrected and we've changed directions. Before we were going up with rate hikes. Now we're going down with rate cuts. And this was the first step of many steps to go along. So the next announcement is going to be in July. The prediction is that we're probably not going to see a rate hike in July because inflation numbers actually came in a tad bit higher just about a week ago. But what the experts are predicting is that we're going to see a rate cut probably sometime in September, October, or even December. So yes, we are going to see more rate cuts this year. It may not be in July, but maybe in the fall, winter time is when the second or third rate cut will happen. So that's your interest rate update. I think when we see that third or fourth rate cut, I think that's when things will sort of normalize. Right now, the market is still very slow and steady. We just had the May numbers come out. We had just, I think, over 7,000 sales, which is not great for the spring market. Spring market, especially in May, is typically the busiest market or the busiest time in real estate. And so we didn't have that this year. So spring was really fizzled out from what I can tell you. The June numbers will come up sometime next week, and I'll give you guys an update on that. But what can we expect from the second half of the year? So before I talk about that, let me tell you about the first half of the year. In the first half of the year, we had about 30,000 sales in total up until the end of May. And I think we're probably going to crack maybe around 35, 37,000 sales once the June numbers come out. Second half of the year, I think we are going to have a little bit of a busier year. I think sales will probably be higher than what it was in the first half of the year, mainly because there will be more rate cuts to come in September, October. And I think we're going to see some more buyer confidence return in the market. Right now, a lot of buyers are still on the sidelines, or they're just not able to afford the higher interest rate payments at the moment. Now, I want to talk to the buyers out there who are currently actively looking in the market. I want to give you guys some advice and some tips as to what I am seeing in the market and what you can expect as well. So if you are a buyer in this market, do understand that, across the board, there are different pockets within the GTA. There are some pockets that are still doing relatively well. Homes are selling fairly quickly above asking price, but I'm seeing more and more pockets now where it's getting less busier. And what I'm noticing for my clients, and what you should be noticing as well, is that for a lot of homes right now in the GTA, there's an opportunity out there right now to actually negotiate and bargain for a house. So if you see a property you like, and let's say you don't want to go in at asking price or not even below asking, this could be an opportunity where you could maybe lowball a little bit. Obviously, I don't believe in insulting a seller, but at the same token, if you have a seller who is desperate to sell, who needs to sell because they can't afford to make their mortgage payments, what you need to do is get as much information from the seller or the seller's agent to find out why are they selling. So what I do for my clients is when I am looking for a house for them and we find a house we like, number one, before even negotiating, what we do is I try to find as much information as I can about the seller. What are they doing? Why are they selling? Have they bought a house? The smart agents won't reveal too much information, but some of the agents actually will because they want to help their sellers sell their property. So they're motivated to sell. And so the more information we gather, the more or better idea I have as to how much we can actually negotiate. So for example, we had a client of mine who bought a condo in Mississauga. There was 2 units in that building, exactly the same, identical size, identical features. One went for 600,000. We missed out on that one. There was a second unit in that same building that was listed for 600,000. And when we approached the sellers, we wanted to get a bargain on it. But the sellers naturally knew that, well, the neighbor's house is sold for 600,000. That's what we should be getting. Luckily enough, I found out enough information about the sellers, and I came to the conclusion that these guys need to sell their property. They're desperate to sell their property. Knowing that information, we actually went in with an offer for 550,000, and we ultimately closed the deal at 570,000. So we essentially got $30,000 less than what the neighbors sold for, and it was the exact same house. So as a buyer out there, I think what you need to do is get as much information as you can from the seller side, find out why they're selling, what their motivation is, and really negotiate hard, because we don't see a lot of these types of opportunities in the GTA market. In the last 12 years I've been in the biz, I've only seen 2 down markets, and this is the second market that I've seen that's a down market. So do take advantage of this market. Don't miss out on potential deals. Find out as much information as you can from the seller or his agent, and really try to negotiate a good deal, because this is a time where you can actually do that. Now, if you're a seller out there in this market, you might be experiencing some difficulties, especially because buyer activity has gone down, and naturally you may not be getting the offers that you wanted. And I'm here to tell you that the market will still support you when it comes to selling your house, as long as you price it accordingly, especially if it's a freehold house, if it's a detached townhome, semi in a good area. But I really think this is a time where you need to price your property appropriately within the market parameters. So you can't overprice it and expect people to come flood your house and give you offers, multiple offers. Those days are almost gone. But what you can do is you can present your property in the best light possible. So don't become stingy and not do these minor repairs in the home. Paint the house if you have to, stage the house. Make sure the house looks presentable. And I'll give you an example. We had a client recently who had a house in Markham, and the neighbor's house recently sold for 1.25. And naturally, that was the expectation, because when a house sells down the street from you, which is exactly the same size and same style, you're going to want to get that same price. But that was 2 months before, and the market changed within those 2 months. So we had about 20 showings in total. Out of those 20 showings, we had just one offer come in, and the offer that came in was for 1.1 million. We had to negotiate. We ultimately got 1.2 million. The clients were conflicted. Should they go back and counter back and tell the buyers that we want 1.25, similar to what the neighbors got? What I advised them was, well, if you do that, you might be at risk of losing the only offer you have right now. And right now, what the market is telling us is that this house is priced at 1.2. So ultimately, we decide to accept the 1.2 offer. And obviously, the clients did wish they could get a little bit more, but they were also happy because the minute they sold that property, Literally the next day, three other homes on the same street came for sale. And believe it or not, it's been a month and a half since we sold that property. Those properties are still sitting on the market. So you have to time the market accordingly. The best thing was my clients, what they did was they did their best to present the property in the best possible way. They staged it, they painted it, they decluttered it, they deep cleaned it. Everything was meticulous, immaculate. Photography, videography was just out of this world. And that truly helped us get to that 1.2 level. So if you are a seller in this market, along with the marketing, you got to present the property properly and you have to price it. You can't look at what someone sold 2 months from now. But if you get a good offer into this market, don't be greedy and not consider it, because you might get a lot less if you don't take what's in front of you right now. Now, I want to give you some predictions and insights as to where I see the market going, not just this year, but maybe in the next couple of years. So this is just a prediction, in my opinion, based on what I've experienced in the past. I remember back in 2017 when we had a market downturn. It took about 2.5 years to fully recover and for the buyers to regain their confidence. I think we're going to see that same pattern play out right now. It may take a little bit longer because of the rates being so high and prices being so high. But last year, we had a terrible year in real estate. And I want to share my screen with you right here and show you the numbers based on what we saw in the last few years and what we're going to be seeing going forward. So the historical annual statistics for the Toronto Regional Real Estate Board. So as you can see here, back in 2011, we had roughly over 89,000 sales. In 2012, we had 85,000. In 2013, we had 87,000. In 2014, 92,000. In 2015, we had a busy year with 101,000. 2016, we had a massive year. We had 113,000 units sold. And then in 2017, right here, where I've shaded this area, the number of transactions came down to 92,000 roughly. And this was because at the time, the Ontario government had come out with some rules, housing rules, that really impacted the market. And you saw in 2018, there was another reduction in units sold. We had 78,000. 2019, things picked up again. We had 87,000 sales. In 2020, 95,000. In 2021, 121,000 sales. And in 2022, we were in a lockdown at this time, but interest rates started to go up in 2022. And this is where we saw the slowdown happen. And we were at 75,000 units sold. And then we take it down to 2023, and we saw a massive reduction in sales, 65,887 units sold alone. That was the lowest sales that we've had in the last 15 years or 20 years. So a massive drop. And this year right now, at the end of May, we were roughly sitting at 30,416 sales, and the average price was 1.124 million, which was still higher compared to years past, except for 2023. So basically, what I do anticipate is that this year, the market is going to be slow again. We may hit 70,000 sales, maybe 75,000 sales in total. I think in 2025, we're also going to be a little bit slower because rates are still going to be high, and we're not going to see the bottom of those rates again. But I think in 2026 is when I think the market will become normal again. And I don't know if we're going to see the hot market again. And actually, I hope we don't see the hot market, because in reality, when the market is that hot, a lot of people are not able to buy a home, and they're basically locked out of buying a home. And we don't want that to happen. So we want a steady market, a market that grows steadily. It's a healthy growth. At the end of the day, that's better for all Canadians. But I think 2026 is when we're going to see that next big jump happen. And when people ask me, well, when are prices going to go back up again? Well, in the long run, I would say next 5 to 10 years, I think we are going to see steady appreciation, but it will take time. We're not going to see that crazy market again that we saw with homes going 300,000, 400,000 over asking. unless rates come down to that ultra low level, which they probably won't. But I do think that when we do see the rates come down to maybe between 3.5% to 4%, I think we will see buyer confidence return to the market and things will pick up significantly. So there's a quick, on the fly market update. Again, I apologize for not being in the studio today and doing so resume, but I just wanted to get something out to you guys so you guys can benefit from the podcast and the content. And next time we'll have our guest on, and we've got a great guest coming on the show actually, which you guys are going to learn from a lot. But for now, I hope you enjoyed this episode. Have an amazing day and have an amazing week. Thank you so much, and see you in the next episode.